Hey guys, thanks for signing up. I'm Matt DeRoche, a local realtor here in Burlington, and I put this simple guide together because townhomes can be one of the most misunderstood property types in our market. This guide is for first-time buyers, upsizers, downsizers, and really anyone considering a townhome and wondering what the differences actually are, how pricing works, where they make sense, and where they don't. So here's what I'll go through today. I'll start with the main types of townhomes that you will see in Burlington, then break each one down individually, compare them side by side, explain where you'll find each type, along with some real life examples, and finish with some common misconceptions and a quick market outlook. It really comes down to three main styles of townhomes: freeholds, traditional condo townhomes, and stacked condo towns, which are a newer style of town that you see more often nowadays. So the main question is, what style is best for you? So this little infographic here can actually help us see at a glance what each segment will cost to get into, along with typical square footage ranges that it comes with. I'm going to get into the pros and cons of each style in this order, along with some market data and the neighborhoods where you'll typically find these types of properties. When it comes to looking at each type, there really isn't a good or bad. It comes down to many factors, including location, the design or style, cost, but most of it will honestly come down to the type of lifestyle you want to have and how much of a financial commitment you want to make. As we can see, the first category, which is the most popular, freeholds in Burlington, will tend to range from between $700,000 and $1.25. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this information is based on transactions throughout 2025. So we have to remember that factors like size and, most importantly, location will determine what end of the price range you're on within each category. You can even find freehold townhomes in some of the best neighborhoods closer to $2 million, but those rarely turn over. What's really interesting is that you'll notice the widest range is in the condo townhouse category. And that's because they are actually the most common type of townhome you'll see in any market, including Burlington. And many of the most spacious and luxurious townhomes, which in many cases can back onto the golf course, are legally structured as condos. Then, of course, the lowest price range and tightest bracket will be your stacked condo towns. Sometimes people like to refer to them as two-story apartments because you have basically one level followed by a secondary two-story apartment. Sometimes they come with rooftop terraces, and they're all sort of stacked on top of one another. Freehold townhomes are what most people think of first. You own the land and the structure, there are no condo fees, but you're responsible for all the maintenance. In Burlington, these are commonly 2 or 3-story designs. 3-story layouts are often newer, but they might trade yard space for vertical living. Price-wise, freehold towns tend to sit higher than condo towns on average, largely because of the land ownership and absence of monthly maintenance fees. Now, freeholds did have the highest median price for all townhome categories in 2025 at around $915,000. Now, some quick examples. Something that you might find on the low end of that price scale at around $700,000. This is an example of a townhouse that sold in August for $715,000. They actually listed it low, which you might see quite a bit. And just a side note here, if you're browsing listings online and you see something that looks good and the price is very low, maybe too good to be true, chances are the seller is setting it that way on purpose to get a lot of eyes onto the property, to get people through the door, because they know it's worth more and they want to try to get a few people interested for multiple offers, and it's usually done to get a quick sale. So in this case here, they listed it on August 5th and they sold it about 6 days later and they got $715. But the reason that you're going to see something like this on the low end of the price scale is definitely a bit of an older structure, and inside it probably needs some work. In this case, definitely needs some updating and modernization. When it comes to the flooring, the kitchen needs some appliances. So definitely a handyman's job or something for a contractor. Now, an example of your average freehold townhouse in Burlington. So here is something that sold in the summertime in the low $900,000 price range. With these, you'll typically see the traditional row house design with the brick facade. Typically, these subdivisions might be between 10 and 20 years old, but they're very well built. And as you can see here, this is a 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom freehold town that is very nicely updated and modern. So you really don't have to do too much upgrading or changes moving into a property like this. and it has a very nice layout and design. You got a separate living room, dining room, open concept kitchen with modern appliances and countertops and all that good stuff. This is also in a very nice neighborhood of Burlington, closer to Dundas and Walker's Line. In these neighborhoods, you're going to find great schools. It's very family oriented, and you're very close to a lot of shopping and amenities. Now, for an example of a townhouse on the high end of the price scale, we can look at something like this. This was sold back in May of last year, but there are going to be some noticeable differences with this property. This is an end unit freehold townhouse, also located in Millcroft, which again is a very family oriented community. But this one in particular is very unique. This is actually a bungalow townhouse, which you don't see too often anymore, and they're starting to become in a lot higher demand. As you can see here, the front is landscaped really well, but just quickly jumping to the back, you'll see that this does happen to be a ravine lot. So that backyard, you're out there on your porch or your deck, and you have nothing but greenery and trees to look at, which is very peaceful. Inside, the property is relatively modern and up to date. Plus you have these vaulted high ceilings on the main floor. So this is a great open concept living space that a lot of people are attracted to now. And that is why you're going to see something like this, modern open concept ravine lot, great neighborhood. These are typically selling for 1.25-ish. Lastly, for freeholds, I'll show you an example of a relatively new property that was built in the last 5 years here. As you can see, this is on the market currently for just under 1.2, and it has what some people might look for in a brand new property. You'll see that it's updated. It still has your garage and driveway, but you're missing that backyard that you're going to find with older townhomes. And that comes down to one of the misconceptions with buying brand new. A lot of people ask me if it's better to buy brand new, or is it bad to buy something that's a bit older? And some people think that once a townhome or any property is past 20 years old, that it won't hold its value anymore. But there's not a lot of truth to that. Some people prefer the older properties where you're going to get a bit more land, a backyard, and they don't really build new freehold townhomes like that anymore. So it really just comes down to someone's personal preference, what's important to them. With this, you're going to notice again that it's a bit cleaner, modern. With a lot of new homes, you're going to have the comfort of having the Terry-on new home warranty in case there's any issues structurally, mechanically, or with plumbing. And with something like this, you can see there are more levels, which means more stairs. Not everyone likes to have multiple levels and prefers that two-story traditional design, but if you don't mind the stairs and all the extra steps, this is something that'll give you a very nice property. Still, you get the open concept, modern kitchen, good living space, and instead of having a backyard in this particular case, you're going to get a rooftop terrace where you can still have a barbecue and enjoy the summer evenings. Now, focusing on traditional condo townhouses. Don't write off the value and resale potential of a condo townhouse simply because it has maintenance fees. One of the biggest objections that I get from people when it comes to condo townhouses are those fees. And because they're there, people are repelled by them and they don't want to look at them whatsoever. But keep in mind, they're there for a reason. And it comes down to the lifestyle that you're going to have and ultimately the price that you're going to pay. Now, those fees in the long run pay for major improvements. They pay for structural maintenance, and depending on your lifestyle, they can be far more convenient than a freehold. Now, these are very popular with downsizers and buyers who want the space without the hands-on maintenance. Regarding the price range variability, again, they can go from $500,000 on the low end all the way up to 1.6, with a median being in the $750,000 range. Sizes can range, again, from 1,000 all the way up to 2,600 square feet. And along with that size range is your condo fees. So condo fees can range from as low as $150 a month up to $1,150 a month, which tie into the larger townhomes. And with those, there might be more maintenance involved or more landscaping. So that's why you're paying for those extra monthly fees. With regard to supply, you'll usually find a lot more available condo townhouses for sale than you will freeholds. In this case, as of January 2026, you have about 78 condo townhouses currently for sale. Now, some examples of traditional condo townhouses and what you're going to find on the low end versus the high end. For something priced on the low end, what can you expect to get? Well, this is something that sold in October of this past year. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhome that sold for $500,000. So, well, let's take a closer look at why it sold for so cheap. And upon closer inspection, you'll see this home is very, very outdated. It has everything original, and it doesn't show too well. So chances are whoever comes in here and buys this property is just going to gut the place. Now, your average example of a condo townhouse, something closer to that $750,000 median price, would be this. Now, this is something on Guelph Line that sold back in October as well for $755,000. That's a nice 3-bedroom plus 1 and 4 bath. And with something like this, your maintenance fees are $501 a month. You're getting about 1,300 to 1,400 square feet here. Ample parking space with your own driveway and garage. And inside, it's open concept, somewhat updated with newer appliances, and still offers a functional, comfortable living space. You'll also usually see a small private backyard. So if having that outdoor space is important to you, maybe you like to garden, you want to have a barbecue, you will still often get that with these condo townhomes. In this case here, you can see the deck, which is fenced in. It gives you a bit of privacy, and you can go for a stroll. If you have a dog, it's an easy way to take them out. Now, lastly, for a high-priced example, here's something that sold in May of last year for just over 1.3. Now you'll notice that newer townhomes, larger in this case, we have about 1,900 square feet, and the maintenance fees are a lot lower. So that's another thing that you will find is the lower the maintenance fees, typically the more expensive the property. But more importantly, this is considered a luxury high-end townhome, and it's an end unit. So going through the pictures, you'll see what I mean. This does have higher ceilings, hardwood flooring throughout, upgraded kitchen, countertops, gas appliances, and it's a very nice design and layout overall for somebody who wants a move-in ready property. And on top of that, with something like this, and people are always willing to pay a premium, of course, we look at the yard and the lot. This one happens to have a walkout basement to a ravine-treed backyard lot. So this is something that people will always pay a bit of a premium for, especially when you have the mature trees. The peace and quiet that comes with that is worth the premium. So for the third and final category, we're looking at stacked condo townhomes. Now, stacked townhomes are usually the most affordable entry price into the townhome market. They function more like condos with either an upper or lower unit. Typically have balconies and sometimes terraces instead of yards and shared common elements. The best way I like to describe stacked condo towns is that they're a better alternative to a condo or a condo apartment for people looking for the low maintenance lifestyle while still getting in the market at a low entry price point. Not to mention, the fees are going to be half what they'll be in a high-rise building and don't increase as often as they only have a fraction of the operating budget that a high-rise building has. Now, as you can see here, this is a typical floor plan for a stacked condo townhouses. Commonly, you'll walk in, and the first thing you're going to see is a small little foyer, immediately stairs taking you up to the main level. That would then take you into a dining room, usually with a kitchen, and then another set of stairs will take you up to the first and second bedroom, depending on if it's a 2 or 3 bedroom. And sometimes these might even have a third level where there might be a small private rooftop terrace. A few examples, including something on the low end of the price scale. So you can actually get, interestingly, a 1-bedroom in a stacked townhouse complex for under or almost $300,000. This is something that sold in October of 2025. What's interesting about this is you can't even find a condo 1-bedroom apartment for much under $400,000. But here, somebody was able to pick up a 1-bedroom with a parking spot, keep in mind, for $318,000. Monthly maintenance fees are $330 a month, which is consistent with most condo apartments or townhomes. And as you can see here, very simple, lower level, 1-bedroom flat, but great entry price point for somebody with tighter budget who doesn't need too much space. Now, for your average stacked condo townhouse, I can show you 2 different examples. One would be something that's slightly older, but still coming in at that $600,000 median price range, which was the median price for 2025 that we saw. Keeping in mind, $600,000 in this market is a pretty good entry price point for any 2-bedroom property. When we compare this with high-rise condos, you're going to still get a lot more square footage and space for the same type of money than you will with half the maintenance fees. So for something like this, you're only paying $456 a month, and you're getting closer to 1,300 or 1,400 square feet here. Given that this is a bit of an older subdivision, you might need to do a little bit of work and updating if you don't like the carpets or if you wanted to spruce up the living room or the kitchen. But overall, this is a perfect entry price for a starter home. If you're looking for something newer, this is an example of a bit more of a modern design in a stacked condo townhouse. This is actually on the market right now for $575,000. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, where the maintenance fees are only $468 a month. So again, comparing to a condo high-rise, something with this type of square footage, you're typically going to see $800 to $900, sometimes even $1,000 a month maintenance fees. So it is a much better alternative than a condo high-rise. I will maintain that. And the value, the entry price point to get into a property like this is very competitive. It's hard enough to find good 2-bedroom condo apartments for under $600. But here, in this case, this is a property that's actually right by the Aldershot Go. So from this community, it's a quick walk to the Go parking lot. Great for people who want to commute into the city. And Aldershot itself is a very nice community to live in. So with something like this, you will typically see a bit of a modern or newer design. Going into the pictures here, you can kind of understand how the flow works with walking into a stacked townhouse like this. Instead of your own private entrance, typically you share that entrance with other apartments or stacked towns. So for example, the door on the right will likely lead into the apartment or flat on the main floor, whereas the unit in question will have the door in front of you. You walk in, you have a foyer, and you go straight up the stairs into the second floor, which is where you're going to find the living room / kitchen, followed by another set of stairs taking you up to bedroom 1 and bedroom 2. And in this case here, the third level takes you upstairs where you have your own private rooftop terrace. And again, comparing this to a condo apartment, there's a lot more value in having this. You usually don't have this much outdoor space on a condo apartment, but out here you can set a whole patio set with table and chairs along with a barbecue and enjoy having that exclusive space a lot more. So now when you compare them side by side, it really comes down to budget, maintenance tolerance, and lifestyle. There's no universally best option, only the best option for you. Again, many people don't mind paying low monthly maintenance fees if it covers the primary components of your exterior and provides the lifestyle of not having to cut grass or shovel snow for a relative low price. Now, some common insights and misconceptions regarding condo townhomes compared to freehold. One very common objection I get from clients of mine is, "Hey Matt, I heard that condo townhomes are a bad investment and don't appreciate in value. Is this true?" Really, the best way to answer that is by showing you. So now this data, going back to 2010, shows the values of condo townhomes to freeholds or row towns actually historically have moved very parallel to each other. There's usually about a 21 to 27% gap or premium between the two classes. This gap will stay consistent because there's an equilibrium where entry price and affordability come into play. Even in slow markets, as we can see from the last 2 years, freeholds can lose value at the same proportion. Think of it this way: as property values for, in this case, freeholds go up and push buyers out of that segment, it forces them into the next best segment, which in most cases are condo townhomes. Category. So no, condo towns are not a bad investment. They just offer a different cost structure and lifestyle. Another common concern I hear a lot about are maintenance fees. Often people ask me, well, I'm worried about the maintenance fees going up and continuing to go up, and if that happens, the condo townhouse won't be a good investment anymore. While this is a very fair concern to have, it typically applies more so with condo high-rises, where the operating budget of these buildings is so much more complex and includes things like 24-hour concierge, security, elevators, underground parking levels, which require more maintenance over time, and many more electrical and plumbing components within the building. Typically, condo towns have a fraction of the operating budget compared to a high-rise condo, and most of your condo fees are actually going towards the reserve fund, which will eventually fund things like the new roof, windows, patio stones, etc., while the rest go towards a much smaller operating budget with fixed costs that don't tend to go up as much over time. Now, the chart you see here is built from real data taken from a popular condo and a condo townhome community in Burlington over the past 6 years. Over the same time span, you can see how much faster fees in a condo apartment are accelerating compared to the townhouse. Now, this trend will appear consistent across most condos and townhomes in the GTA. Now, lastly, I'll just get into some quick market statistics when it comes to the Burlington townhome market. So in terms of the data and the trends over the last 2 years, these charts here paint a pretty clear picture. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Your average price is on a decline right now, and transaction volume is still on its way down. So in reality, what's happening is there's more homes on the market. Buyers are taking their time and taking longer to shop. And as a result, it's putting a bit of downward pressure on pricing. Days on market, along with months of inventory, is on a steady incline. So as long as we continue to see more inventory, that's going to put buyers in a good position, and it puts you in a lot more control. It gives you the opportunity to negotiate more and really find the best deal for you. Now, moving into 2026, I expect to see more of the same. More listings will come online, which were pulled off last November and December, likely with better and improved pricing, as sellers need to get competitive in order to sell their homes. So as a buyer, this is great because you'll have more choices and more room to negotiate. So thanks for listening to me. And if you're considering a townhome and want to help narrow down which type and which neighborhood makes the most sense for you, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to walk through options and answer any questions. No pressure or obligations on your part. Hope you found this useful.